Welcome to Northwest, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Ben Gable, and I use the pronouns he or him, and I serve as your congregational administrator. This morning, we welcome Northwest member, the Reverend Peter Gable, an ordained Presbyterian minister, as our guest preacher. He will deliver a sermon on how jazz can save your life. Our choir director, Ken Hermanat, and our pianist, Alex Myers, are creating beautiful music with our Northwest singers. Alex will be running the AV Tech booth as well. Eva Leventer, our acting director of religious education, will be participating in this morning's service. According to the COVID Act Now website, the Detroit metro region is in the medium community risk level category. Therefore, our choir will be performing live without communal singing. However, you are invited to stand in body or spirit, move your body, hum along with the music, or sing loudly if you are with us online. After the service, we will have coffee, tea, and light snacks. In addition, we will have our annual volunteer job fair in the multipurpose room. Are you interested in learning more about how the church works? Would you like to get more involved but aren't sure how? Do you want to use your skills to support our wonderful volunteer-oriented congregation? Do you want to win cool prizes? Each person who provides contact information to any committee involved in the Northwest Volunteer Job Fair with the intention of joining that committee will be given a raffle ticket to be used in the service auction tin can raffle. Please limit one ticket per person. Those who are with us online can stay in the main session room to join members from the leadership development team after the service. If you are a visitor online and would like Northwest to stay in touch with you, please fill out the visitor form you will see in the chat box. If you are with us in person, you can fill out the visitor sign-in form in the atrium. Information about our events and updates about the Northwest community can be found on our website, weekly newsletter, and Facebook page. Yes, we are a small but mighty congregation with lots of exciting events coming up soon. We will now hear from a few folks for additional live announcements.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Henry. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the moderator of the Northwest UU Board of Governors. Our next congregational meeting will be next Sunday, October 23rd at noon. This will be a hybrid meeting. You can attend in person or via Zoom. If you will be here in person, we'll have some light snacks available, but you also may wish to bring a lunch with you. Note that we are following a new, more inclusive format in order to fully discuss two issues critical to our growth as a congregational community. We'll be breaking into small groups in person and online, first to discuss the aspirational covenant, which has been created through the hard work of our Committee on Ministry and Right Relations, with congregational input that began in June of 2022. No vote will be taken at this time, but we will have the opportunity to hear the feedback from each small group, and more opportunities will be available between now and the end of the year. The aspirational covenant will be up for a vote at our January meeting. We will then hear some background information about our call for a full-time minister and break into small groups again to give everyone an opportunity for discussion. After the small group time, the resolution regarding hiring the minister will be moved, and anyone who feels their viewpoint was not heard or represented within the small group format will be more than welcome to speak individually to the congregation as a whole during the discussion about the resolution itself. It's a both-and approach in an effort to maximize congregational input on this most critical part of our future. Another important part of our congregational future is the further implementation of the 8th principle, and a big next step begins this Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. Everyone is encouraged to join us as we kick off our engagement with ADORE, which stands for A Dialogue on Race and Ethnicity. This program was created by Paula Cole-Jones, who will be leading 4 monthly sessions, along with our 8th principle implementation team members, Mary Mueller and Vanessa Washington, who are being trained to continue to facilitate ADORE after our 4 months with Paula. Congregations around the country have been using this program, some for as long as 2 decades, to foster adult education and conversation around anti-racism work and the journey to spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. I hope to see you all for ADORE at 7 p.m. this Wednesday, October 19th. and at our congregational meeting at noon next Sunday, October 23rd. Thank you.
Good morning. Just wanted to provide you all with a quick update regarding the search committee. We'd love to hear your voice through conversation, and so we've been conducting cottage meetings, which are sort of like focus groups. Later this month, the search committee will be offering cottage meetings for smaller groups of people to discuss the needs and interests of the congregation. And this is just another way for the committee to gain some insight that they need when reviewing the ministerial portfolio so that we can try and find the best fit for the congregation. In contrast to the survey, which hopefully many of you completed, these conversations provide the opportunity for you to build upon what others in the groups have said, for thoughts and ideas to kind of flow naturally as the discussion progresses. If you attend one of these meetings, you can expect to answer about 3 to 4 questions with about a time frame of around 30 minutes. And it's really important that there's between 2 and 8 people in each group to really make sure that the communication is effective. So we hope that you will join us for those. The in-person conversation at Northwest will be on one of our Tuesdays with Soup. So this week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock, one will take place. So please feel free to come to church then. You can come hungry, eat some soup, and engage in one of the conversations there. And then there will be some additional Zoom conversations on October 22nd at 1 o'clock, Thursday, October 27th at 7 o'clock, Sunday, November 6th at 3, and Wednesday, November 9th at 7. So this information is in the announcements, and I believe it went out in the newsletter. You can contact Julie Bodson, and her email address is listed in the, I won't read it to you, but it's also in the directory. So you can email Julie or give her a call if you would like to RSVP or find. Thank you. And the email address is listed there. You can send it. The whole group will get it, and somebody will respond to you if you have questions about which one you can join. The only way that we can really represent you as a congregation is to hear from you. So please, particularly if you didn't get the opportunity to complete the survey, try and participate in one of the focus groups. We are also having a really exciting workshop on the 30th on Saturday. So the last Saturday of the month, we're going to have a Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop that will take place on Zoom, and I guess it's the 29th, not the 30th, and it'll start at 9:30 in the morning, go to 1:30. We're going to have some breaks in there, take a break so everybody can do lunch. But this is going to be a 3-hour facilitator-led workshop to really explore how we can avoid prejudice in the minister search process and find out who our best match might be. This workshop is a really important part of our search process, and we really want to make sure that that we've thought about bias in this process so that we can kind of confront some of the pre-existing ideas that we might have about who we think our minister should be, and be able to really kind of think through that process so that we can be open and honest about who the minister is so that we don't invite some unnecessary challenges. In the past, some congregations have assumed that their ideal minister should look a certain way, often white, male, heterosexual, able-bodied, and of a particular age and class. And we do have credentialed ministers in our faith who are persons of color, LGBTQIA+, disabled, young, old, working class, and they still face a lot of discrimination as part of the search process. So this workshop is just a way to sort of work through that. So you're really encouraged to attend. Everybody is invited. We really are, we won't say required, because I know we can't make anybody do anything here, right? But it's strongly recommended that if you're in a leadership role in church, so if you lead any committees, if you are part of the choir, it's recommended that you come. As well as all of the board members, and of course all of the search committee members are there. But it is recommended. We'd love to see as many people from church as we can. We have a facilitator from New York that will be joining us by Zoom, and they will also be leading our worship service on the Sunday following, which is on the 30th. So please, you can contact me or through the Northwest email if you have any questions about this event or one of the cottage meetings.
We're on a roll. Live announcements. Good morning. I am Beata Lamparski, and along with Margaret Block, who is in the back of the auditorium, we are co-chairs of this year's 2022 service auction. I hope by now that you have seen an announcement about this event, which has been held for the past 40 years, and I hope you are curious and or excited about it. The service auction, for those of you who are not aware, is the major fundraiser for Northwest. In addition to raising about $25,000 through your donations and your purchases, the meals, the outings, the games, the crafts, the tours, and the parties that are offered fill our social calendars all year long and bring us together. The community building aspect of the service auction is really key to our church. We are auctioning items and services on an online platform called Max Giving. You can bid on art, home decor, gift cards, and delicious homemade food. We also have 9 raffle options where you buy as many $1 chances as you want to win some awesome prizes. This year, we are giving away a Meta Quest 2 Advanced all-in-one virtual reality headset. Yes, I know you're. And a $500 gift certificate to Amazon. Not too shabby for a $1 chance. In addition, we have a 50-50 raffle, which last year we split with the winner, and they got $400. Not bad. We also have events called board items, which you buy for a fixed price and only a set amount of people can attend. This year we have some examples. We have a family dinner for up to 20 people at $10, you know. We also have a lunch for 16 people where you can play a game called Quirkle, and that's for 16 people, and that is also for $10. So it's reasonably priced, and you can have a lot of fun. The last component of the service auction is the live auction, which is really fun. And this year, the live auction is taking place on Saturday, November 12th on Zoom. And this is for the 3rd year in a row. The online format allows us to welcome many members who are unable to attend in person. And the decision we think best to meet virtually seems the most inclusive and the best one. So in summary, the more people who participate in the service auction, the better and the merrier it is. If you have any questions, please see Margaret Block, who will be in the multipurpose room at the service auction table after the service. Also, look for that link about the service auction website in your Sunday email or in your Sunday text reminder. Please sign up. Please share the link with your friends. And I thank you so much for your participation.
Good morning. I am Diana Kohler. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the worship associate this morning. Now I invite you to greet your neighbors with a wave from wherever you are, whether you are here online or in person. And we're going to wave to this camera so they can see our faces. Before Alex plays the prelude this morning, I invite you all to take a couple deep breaths and enter this time of worship. The state of Michigan occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, the Three Fires Confederacy, who are the Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi. Northwest recognizes historic Indigenous communities in Michigan and those who were forcibly removed from their homelands. We further recognize the ongoing relationship of, dependence upon, and respect for all living things of earth, sky, and water. In offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences. We light our chalice this morning in solidarity with other Unitarian Universalist congregations in our association with the words of the Reverend Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of profoundly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one. Working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together.
Jazz age Josephine. People listen to my story about a girl named Josephine. People listen to this story about a poor girl named of Josephine. She was the saddest little sweetheart this side of New Orleans. Well, she was born in St. Louis, and she grew up with those St. Louis blues. Yes, she was born in St. Louis, and she grew up singing nothing but the blues. She just had one ragged dress and a pair of worn-out old shoes. You see, the shack where she lived, it didn't have no heat. Things were sometimes so bad, there was nothing to eat. She slept down on the floor, newspapers for a sheet, rats crawling around, nibbling at her feet. Josephine, her grandma said, I got a fairy tale for you. Josephine, oh Josephine, this story's about a girl like you. Someday, you're gonna be a princess. You know what Granny says is true. That's so hard to believe in when kids act all so cruel. To believe in fairy tales is so hard when folks are cruel. Ain't nothing left to do but just pretend to be a fool. So Josephine made funny faces, stuck out her tongue, and crossed her eyes. Yes, Josephine made funny faces, stuck out her tongue, and bugged out her eyes, strutted right into a dance tent, and to everyone's surprise, she did the grizzly bear. She did the turkey trot. She whipped right through the bunny hug, strutted through the camel walk. She did so many dance steps, it made the people holler, and when the dance was over, Josephine got paid $1. She kept dancing, she never got tired. She kept dancing, that girl, she never got tired. Until one night, when her whole world changed, the night St. Louis caught on fire. Well, there were white folks chasing black folks on the black folks' side of town, white folks screaming at the black folks and setting fire to their town. And the black folks kept on running while their homes burned to the ground. So Josephine, she started running too. She started running on that night. She started running, started running on that night. There had to be some better place where white folks treat you right. She ran all around the country with an old-time traveling show. Yes, she ran all around the USA with an outdoor traveling show, doing all her crazy dance steps till it was time to pick up and go. But the blues ran right behind her, all the way to old New York. Them nasty blues ran right behind her till the world was cold and dark. She didn't have no friends or money, slept on a bench in Central Park. She auditioned for this big show. They told her, beat it, kid. So she went out in the alley, bawled her eyes out, flipped her lid. The director, he took pity, called her name out, had a heart. He put her in the chorus line. That's how she got her start. Josephine, oh Josephine, you know you're in the big time now. Josephine, oh Josephine, grown up in the big time now, making people hoot and whistle. Every night you take your bow. Well, she wore big baggy pants. She wore black makeup on her face. Each night she wore those baggy pants. She wore what people called blackface. As much as all those white folks loved her, it was an insult to her race. That was it for Josephine. She had made up her mind. She'd stop clowning for these folks and leave those blues behind. So she jumped on a boat that was headed for France. She was going to show those French folks how Americans dance. It was the jazz age now, year of 1925, jumping jazz bands, sassy haircuts. Yes, the good times had arrived. Miss Liberty waved bye-bye as that boat sailed out to sea, and for the first time in her life, jazz-age Josephine felt free. Then, 1, 2, 3, hit it! Gay party, Josephine, here's an act they've never seen. Bo-do-do-de-do, bo-do-do-de-do-do. Bo-bo-bo-de-do. Paris, France, instant fame, everybody knows her name. Bo-do-do-de-do, bo-do-do-de-do-do. Boodle-lam, 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 shake. Boodle-lam, 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 shake. Zubby-dop-dop, dop-doop-doop, zee-boop-dop-zow. Zop, 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 zoop-a-dop-dow. Panther, camel, who's that, who? Ostrich, parakeet, kangaroo. Can she dance? That's a fact. Belly to belly and back to back. It's the shake, the shimmy, and the mess around. No one sleeps when she's in town. Can she sing? You'd sing too if everything you ever dreamed of suddenly just happened like a beautiful song. How wonderful to be adored like a princess, like a queen, and to glitter like a diamond. Just the thrill of being seen and known and loved by everyone you pass. How wonderful to be a star, to live in a palace, to keep a goat and a tiger and a monkey as pets, to walk a cheetah named Chiquita through the boulevards of Paris, and yet, alas, to long for the place where you were born, where you would never live again, imagining how it might have been not to be scorned for the color of your skin, not to be forced to run away, and yet, drum beats, bright lights, Josephine is star tonight. Dressed to the hilt, she is singing a lilt about pretty little baby that'll Alabama llama whamma. Bye-bye, blackbird. She ain't singing the blues. She's got nothing to lose. Show after show, she is making a go of it, dancing to Charleston, begging your pardon, ma'am, nanners and feathers, glittering diamonds, and here comes the end of this jazzy fairy tale about Miss Josephine. Dun, dun, dun.
The flame.
The purpose of this church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and the Michigan Organization on Adolescent Sexual Health. The gifts of the congregation are most gratefully received. If you would like to donate, you can do so in a variety of ways that will appear on your screen. And for those here in person, checks and cash may also be placed in the collection basket at the front of the sanctuary. And remember, as our hymn comes up, that you are encouraged to rise in body or spirit and move as you are moved by the music. Our reading this morning is Improvisational Faith by Tom Stites. First, at their cores, jazz and Unitarian Universalism are democratic in the broadest sense. Author and musician Tom Plaza writes in the Guide to Classic Recorded Jazz, in a jazz group, as in any community, certain roles need to be filled. Someone has to play the melody, someone has to keep time, someone has to suggest the harmonic context. In jazz, each instrumentalist has to understand his or her role in the group well enough so that he or she can improvise on it and not just follow directions. Playing in a jazz group involves both responsibility and freedom. Freedom consists of knowing your responsibility well enough to act independently and still make the needed contribution to the group. As such, a jazz performance is a working model of democracy. Unitarian Universalist congregations are working models of democracy too. They answer to no authority higher than their memberships and take direct responsibility for choosing their ministers, approving their budgets, and electing governing boards to oversee the congregation's business. Second, both jazz and Unitarian Universalism are inclusive rather than exclusive. Everybody is welcome, and everybody is welcome to improvise. In jazz, improvisation means spontaneous composition of music in the moment it is played. In Unitarian Universalism, it means that each of us must search for our own truth and meaning. And like jazz players, we draw from many sources of inspiration. And neither jazz nor Unitarian Universalist improvisation is for the faint-hearted. It requires real courage to take responsibility for our own religious lives, both as individuals and as congregations. Third, when everybody is welcome to improvise in jazz or in church, some dissonance is inevitable. People tend to regard dissonance as grating and tension as bad, but dissonance can be holy. Liberal religion rests on the theological premise that by coming together with all of our differences, we summon the holy. That's because people who are responsible for their own truths always produce tension when trying to be in relationship. So being part of churches like ours challenges us to learn from each other as we work to resolve the tension and refine our truths.
Well, good morning, everyone. Diane and I had to compromise on the height of the lectern here. It was a little high for her and it's a little low for me. But that's some improvisation for you. I'll begin today with some disclosures. I don't know much about jazz. I've learned a little from the book Moving to Higher Ground, How Jazz Can Change Your Life by Wynton Marsalis. By the way, I should have titled this sermon, How Jazz Can Change Your Life, not How Jazz Can Save Your Life. That was a mistake. Well, maybe it could save your life. I have performed a fair amount of vocal jazz in various church and secular choirs, especially the many show tunes I performed in a gay men's chorus. I also listened to various jazz recordings by classic artists like Ella Fitzgerald, to Frank Sinatra, to John Coltrane. Finally, I'm not sure smooth jazz is proper jazz. and I never need to hear another piece by Kenny G. Also, I apologize in advance to anyone who owns a large SUV or pickup truck or enjoys using the brightest automobile headlights available to sear the eyes of other drivers. You'll understand why shortly. As usual, I'm only expressing my own opinions or the opinions of others that I find interesting or humorous. You may disagree, and that's okay. Now, I think many of us will agree that valuing individualism over the common good is an increasingly dangerous trend in our culture. An excellent example of this trend can be found in the types of automobiles many choose to drive on our public highways. I refer you to a recent post on a favorite blog of mine entitled "Lawyers, Guns, and Money." The title of the post was "Headlights." The post started with a tweet quote, "Can we have a law that if your headlights hurt people's eyes, they are allowed to go to town on your car with a baseball bat?" Now, this may seem a little harsh, but the blog commenters had much more to say. Bruce J. wrote, "Just like the design of modern pickup trucks with their massive front ends, the object is to be as intimidating as possible." Lex Luger says, "Something uniquely American about the fact that we're only able to solve the problems introduced by people in needlessly high SUVs by joining an arms race and getting your own." As a frequent pedestrian and one-time avid bicyclist, I'm acutely aware of the effect that oversized vehicles with high slab fronts have on me. When a bicyclist or pedestrian is struck by the front of a sedan, they tend to go over the vehicle's hood, avoiding the full force of the collision. When struck by a flat-nosed SUV or truck, however, they bear the full force of the collision and are knocked in the direction of oncoming traffic or onto the side of the road. That very thing happened to me when I was struck from behind by a full-size van 30-plus years ago, resulting in 2 weeks in the hospital and a pelvis broken in 3 places. I feel fortunate to have survived. We are in an arms race on our highways, with everyone feeling they need larger and larger vehicles, with brighter and harsher headlights to be the survivors of the battle on our highways. Is this much different than our out-of-control Second Amendment rights, our abuse of the First Amendment in religious and political matters, and our "F you, I've got mine" attitude that pits citizen against citizen, tribe against tribe? Oh, a little communication. In the endless pursuit of us against them, rather than seeking a common good that is optimized for all. This winner-takes-all attitude has brought our country to the brink of disaster, the precipice of authoritarianism, and the destruction of our democracy. Perhaps a larger, more crucial question than how jazz can save, change your life becomes how jazz can save, change our country. More personally and immediately, how jazz can save, change our congregation. Allow me to return to the promised theme of my discussion with you. As Wynton Marsalis wrote, "Along the way, I want to pass on some of the lessons that music has given me through the years. Lessons about art and life that I hope will help you find or hold on to the proper balance between your right to express yourself and have things your own way, your responsibility to respect others while working with them toward a common goal." Later, when Mr. Marsalis was discussing his introduction to jazz growing up, he put this in a slightly different way. He wrote, "Back then, these 2 revelations, the importance of expressing the core of your unique feelings and the willingness to work things out with others, gave me more than I needed to address the increasingly complex personal relationships that can be unbearable to a teenager. On a basic level, this music led me to a deeper respect for myself. In order to improvise something meaningful, I had to find and express whatever I had inside me worth sharing with other people. But at the same time, it led me to a new awareness of others, because my freedom of expression was directly linked to the freedom of others on the bandstand. I had something to say, and so did they. The freer they were, the freer I could be, and vice versa. To be heard demanded that we also listen to one another closely. And to sound good, we had to trust one another. When I heard Mr. Marsalis on a late-night talk show, I think it was Stephen Colbert, Mr. Marsalis talked about how a jazz ensemble at the height of their game would have moments when one musician, perhaps the trumpet, would rise above the other musicians, becoming the soloist while the others skillfully backed them up. Then, after a time, they'd settle back into the hole until at a later time, another musician, perhaps the drummer, would become the soloist and the others would become the backup. And so it would go, skillfully giving each a chance to shine, but not so much as to take away from their collective work. How could these facets of jazz work to help us work together as a society? In our current politics, it seems the goal has become winning by any means. How has the goal of expressing oneself, one's own views, and implementing one's own policies overwhelmed the willingness to work things out with others? Everything has become winner take all. You either have all the power or you suffer at the hands of those who have it. We need to teach our leaders how to swing. We need to learn ourselves how to feel the beat, the shared rhythm of a common cause, rather than the never-resolved clashing of a tune falling apart. Another essential element of jazz is improvisation. Mr. Marsalis writes, when listening to any great jazz group, you can hear musicians responding to the call of one another's improvisations with consideration, elegance, and grace. This teaches us how to call, listen, and respond. A progression basic to communication, but because of that word in the middle, listen, a balance difficult to achieve in real life. How much listening is going on in our civic lives? There is plenty of call and response, but very little real listening in the middle. Mr. Marsalis even discusses an element of jazz that involves improvisation, the swing, and how the lack of the same can be likened to the current state of our democracy. He writes, balance is required to maintain something as delicate as democracy, as a subtle understanding of how your power can be magnified through joining with and sharing the power of another person. When that is no longer understood, it becomes a battle to see who is the strongest, who is the loudest, who can get the most attention. The strong are free to prey on the weak. It is worth discussing how these elements of jazz apply to the recent history of our little community and how they can inform us going forward. Think about it. What kind of music have we been required to play during the last several years? First, a novel virus spread throughout the world, forcing every nation and every element of every nation to come up with new and flexible plans to respond to this new and unknown threat to life and health. Before much time has passed, our longtime minister had to retire because of her own health challenges, which has meant we've been playing the blues, an essential element of jazz. We switched to online services. As vaccines became available, we decided to move towards hybrid services, investing money along with our efforts. In the midst of this, we've stumbled through an unsuccessful effort to employ an interim minister. We've continued to play our jazz, heavy on improvisation. Our transition to hybrid services has required more improv than we may have wished. Looking forward, we realize that we can't stop playing jazz anytime soon. An immense challenge stands before us, one that cannot be met without employing all of the elements of jazz. It is my sense, although I cannot prove it, that this congregation is not ready to give up the idea of hiring a full-time minister, even though the numbers are pretty intimidating. If so, we will need to all keep searching for the proper balance between expressing our own views and implementing our own policies, along with the responsibility to respect others while working with them toward a common goal. We will need to improve our ability to call, listen, and respond, with the most important word in the middle: listen. I'm reminded of another art form that requires improvisational skills: acting, especially comedy acting. The number one rule of improv and acting is when your acting partner says yes, you respond with yes and. If we're going to swing, if we're going to improvise, we're going to have to develop and maintain trust. We'll need to employ trust as a superpower, knowing that everyone is operating in good faith. No more intimidating each other with the biggest rhetorical SUVs and searing headlights. Please allow me to add one element to the jazz we will be practicing and performing in the coming days. That's fun. Any good musical performance, rehearsal even, is fun. This has been a pretty serious look at the challenging times we face, so here are a few jazz jokes to send you on your way. You thought you'd get away with it this time, didn't you? What do you call someone wearing a "Make Jazz Great Again" hat? A trumpet supporter. All right. What do you call a jazz soloist that's into men and women? Bisexual. A bus full of jazz musicians is broken down on the highway, blocking all lanes. Please say to expect some long jams. A good day, everyone. Now bring your best jazz skills as you decide what leadership ensemble you'd like to perform with at our annual volunteer job fair. Choir as they sing, "Gonna Lay Down My Sword and Shield."
As we listen to the blessing of music, may we know that this ending is more than a time of goodbye. May the warmth of this community and the memory of our chalice flame sustain our hearts and encourage our minds as we engage the blessings of life's challenges and joys. The service has ended. Your service has begun. Go in peace, go in joy, go in love.